All right. It is 10 o'clock Eastern. So let's go ahead and get this started. Welcome everyone to the Future of Blockchain Innovation and Education panel. We are going to be talking about the Midwest Blockchain Consortium and all of the member universities, what they have been up to, and what they plan to do in the future. So without further ado, let's go through some of our panelists' backgrounds and descriptions, as well as maybe a rundown of your student organization. So Adam, do you want to start?
Yeah, sure. Good morning, everyone. My name is Adam Patel, and I'm the president and founder of Blockchain at LUC. That's Loyola University Chicago's blockchain club. I got interested in this entire space way back in like 2014, 2015. I just started high school, and my dad had me building Bitcoin mining rigs out of our garage. So if it wasn't for my pops, I'd probably not be here because I didn't have like any real world problem that Bitcoin or blockchain would solve at that age. But as I got more interested, I fell down the rabbit hole like how most do, got onto crypto Twitter, didn't stop learning after that. Come college time, I was itching to find a way to leave an impact on Loyola, but I quickly realized that that would only happen out of passion. So through meeting the right people and getting the ball rolling, one of them actually being Anthony Pompliano, many of you may know him or know of him, I ended up starting the blockchain arm at Loyola. We're still a very premature organization, unlike the clubs my peers run, which you'll shortly learn about. And that's because we just launched this semester and bam, now we're all of a sudden like forced to have virtual conferences. But other than leading the club and spreading awareness of this nascent yet promising tech, I'm studying computer science. And I also intern at Volt Capital, a crypto fund based out of San Fran that's focused on making early stage investments into crypto startups.
Awesome. Thanks, Adam. All right, so I'll go ahead now. I'm a senior business economics major at my university. I got into the space, it's my University of Ohio, sorry, some of you might not know. And so I got into space late 2017 and just got interested in generally investing. And then heard about the Blockchain Club at Miami because it was started later that year. And so started getting involved in that, ended up getting an internship in Shanghai, China. I was there for 2 months working with a decentralized exchange. So that was a super exciting experience. And then I came back to Miami, got the chance to do a hackathon with Jack here and a few other students. And then we all joined the executive board of our club at Miami. I became the president. And over that next year, we had our first conference on campus. We had a hackathon. And then by the end of the year, I met these gentlemen here, along with a few others as a part of our group. And from there, we've really just been working to collaborate and work together and also spread our reach. And with this conference, I think we've really started to do a great job of that. We're really excited to have my university and the rest of our clubs on a global scale as well. So.
Cool. Hello, everyone. My name is Andrew Marquardt, and I'm currently a graduating senior at Michigan State University. I'm also co-founder at Spartan Blockchain Solutions, which is the blockchain 501c3 nonprofit, as well as like student organization on campus. But I got into blockchain, I would say roughly around 2014, 2015. And then more on the crypto side, so more on investing. And then after understanding that there was the fundamental technology behind cryptocurrencies, I really did like the deep dive into blockchain technology itself and its different applications. I realized I also stumbled upon blockchain at Berkeley, which is University of California Berkeley student organization, who really built out like a curriculum focused on blockchain education. So realizing there was kind of a need at Michigan State University, we first started Spartan Blockchain Solutions, primarily as an educational platform for students. We quickly found that wasn't necessarily the best way to go. So we transitioned to a blockchain advisory firm where we work with clients around Metro Detroit to identify blockchains applicable to the organizations, as well as just work on internal blockchain projects, which any of our analysts would have. So, yeah.
Thanks, Andrew. I can go next. So, hi everyone. My name is Alex Shaw. I am a first-year MBA student, as well as a full-time staff member at Marquette University. I spend my time leading the student-run business program, as well as Marquette University's blockchain lab. So I first got involved in Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies, blockchain broadly, in 2014 when I was going to college, and I had some older buddies at university that were able to go to the local bar and get a beer. I wasn't. I had interest in doing that. And I met a nice Chinese company that was willing to ship me a fake ID if I were to send them some Bitcoin. So that's how I first got exposed. It was trading for about $200 at the time. A year later, it was trading for nearly $2,000. And I was like, what the heck am I missing here? So that's when I really did the deep dive and started to understand the underlying tech behind cryptocurrencies. Really thought this was going to have a profound impact in Milwaukee and the Midwest broadly. So at that point, I started a cryptocurrency trading club, which eventually morphed into a student organization. And now we actually took it outside of the university and created a for-profit advisory firm. And that engages with local community members, particularly small to medium-sized corporations. And we help them understand how they can leverage blockchain and other emerging technologies.
Cool. I can go last but not least. Hello, everyone. My name is Zain Habib. I'm actually a junior studying finance and information systems at Indiana University. I also served as a co-founder and former president of Blockchain at IU, which is Indiana University's first blockchain student organization. And my blockchain story kind of began a lot later than these guys. I think it was in early 2018 that I read a book called The Blockchain Revolution by Don Tapscott. My dad gave it to me. I don't know if you guys ever read it. Beautiful book. And it really just explained the implications of a world with blockchain in it. And so it piqued my interest, and I guess I just never stopped reading. And so come my sophomore year, me and a bunch of friends of mine, we got together and started the first student organization, which has three pillars to it, right? Research and investment, research and development, investment, and education. And so we've had the privilege of running 2 courses every semester, a business course and development course, as well as putting on blockchain-centered events and workshops. So it's kind of gone on to become like a creature of its own, honestly. And since then, I've had the privilege of competing in multiple hackathons and case competitions and attending conferences like these. So I'm excited to see where it goes.
Awesome. So we got a little hint of some of the problems that each of your organizations have been formed around trying to solve, but there are a lot of challenges in the blockchain space today. And I think a lot of us are wondering what some roadblocks for students are that prevent them from getting more involved. Alec, do you want to start with that?
Yeah, sure. I think my experience can kind of shed some light on a unique perspective. So I'm actually an employee from or at a university, as well as a founder of one of these student orgs. So I can kind of view it from both perspectives. And in my opinion, the biggest challenge with, educating the next generation of leaders, especially ones that have interest in blockchain and distributed technologies, it's very difficult to get that education in a traditional university environment. And that's because universities by nature are extremely risk averse. So whenever an individual or a professor is proposing that a new course be implemented into the curriculum, oftentimes you have to go through a 2 to 3 year deliberation and almost a pitch process just to get the university to understand the tech and then understand why it's valuable and critical to the community or the students at that university. So basically, if you spend 3 years, deliberating with the university, whatever you proposed 3 years ago is going to be radically out of date. The pace in which innovation is happening in the blockchain space is just outpacing the speed and agility of any university. So it's forcing students to take, this into their own hands and start their own clubs and organizations, which I'm sure we'll talk about later in the lecture. But the big challenge is the bureaucracy currently at universities.
So I can definitely attest to the bureaucracy issue that Alec brings up. For example, it took me 3 entire semesters to launch the Blockchain Club at Loyola. There was tons of faculty and administration pushback, so much so that I even had like a department head once, like not verbatim, but he literally once told me, if you start this club, do not shill like Bitcoin at all, because that thing is a scam, and I do not want this institution's reputation to be tainted because of it. Like, that's just crazy. Personally, it just kind of goes to show the lack of understanding, which Alec mentioned. So the whole bureaucratic process and being able to kind of like tiptoe through all of the landmines of rules that are like there are, just to launch and begin spreading awareness to allow involvement, it's quite a bit right now, and there definitely needs to be made like improvements made there.
I would also have to say, more on the technical development and knowledge side. I think there's two different ways. I think that's a big issue in two different ways. The first one is that more on the technical side, a lot of our like analysts or even underclassmen they're not really technically versed in programming, especially working in teams. So getting them up to speed, just working with like Git or working with development environments, as well as just learning a new programming language in general, specifically Solidity, that's difficult with them. And then also more on the in-depth side of developing blockchain-based systems. That's an entirely different ballgame as well, where a lot of different technologies and applications are distributed amongst individual platforms. So looking at like IBM Hyperledger, Solidity, and any other platform, they have their own repositories, and it's hard to kind of find all these different platforms. There's not one consolidated place where all this information is stored together, where someone can just go through, take a tutorial, and learn how to program on a blockchain-based system as well.
Yeah, I have to agree with Andrew on that one. I think it comes down to distilling the complexity of blockchain into understandable concepts for students. And that's a difficult task that honestly we're still grappling with because blockchain is kind of a rabbit hole. And when you go in, it keeps changing and keeps innovating. So, new things keep coming about and you can get lost in it. And so a lot of students, what happens is they'll get all excited about it and then they'll keep learning and think, oh my God, I still know nothing about this. I'm just going to give up. So it's all about kind of it down into understandable material that students can really kind of grapple with and then move forward with and take it to new levels. And that's something that I think we'll continue to struggle with, and we would really love institutional support on finding good ways to do that.
Yeah, so we've kind of discussed how there's a lack of educational opportunities provided by the universities, which is somewhat unfortunate because universities are pretty uniquely positioned to satisfy the needs of the blockchain space. Adam, do you want to expand on that more?
Yeah, this is a great question, Jack, actually. I think we can actually attack this from countless different perspectives, but I personally think the most important aspect to focus on is the fact that universities in general serve as a hub that fosters so much talent and intellect from countless different fields. I mean, think about it. You have future engineers and developers and accountants and lawyers and doctors all in one institution, all interacting almost every single day. And now you have a technology in blockchain that has some sorts of overlaps in almost all of these fields. Sure, some have more overlap than others, but there is a connection, and students are beginning to understand and realize that. And for the first time, rather than having students join a club that is strictly meant for their field of study, be it the accounting club or coding club or what have you, we are seeing students all across the board express their interest in the blockchain club. I've seen it in my own university, and I'm sure some of you guys can agree. We're seeing pure curiosity rather than the sense of, oh, I should probably join the accounting club since I'm majoring in accounting. So when you pool all of that together, the fact that universities foster so much talent of all fields, and the fact that blockchain overlaps into many of these fields, what you're left with is universities having a great position to push the space further, be it in the form of education, creating the next generation of entrepreneurs in the space, or what have you.
Yeah, Adam, I like that point. I could build off of it a little bit. So as Adam mentioned, it's like any good economic or crypto economic or blockchain based protocol or ecosystem requires a lot of diverse players. A couple, coming at the top of my mind will be like, you need computer scientists, you need economists, behavioral psychologists, math, game theory experts. And it's very difficult to mobilize this group without some sort of incentive. Most of the time, workers respond to funding route of say, hey, let's go to a VC and let's acquire some capital. But the challenge there is now you are no longer a part of this neutral entity. you have to answer to shareholders. So the reason universities are, the most appropriately positioned to engage with these highly research intensive type projects that actually have real world implications is that a university is a neutral entity. So they can work with corporate partners, they can work with industry partners, they have researchers, they have government grant. They're able to provide not only the talent, but the capital, and not skew the direction of the project. It can remain neutral and it can remain, organic and pure.
So we've discussed a little bit how universities can satisfy a lot of the needs of the blockchain space itself. But what can the blockchain space do for universities? How can universities begin to leverage this tech in the near term? Andrew, do you want to start with that?
Yeah, so I would say that one of the most applicable use cases, in my own opinion, for blockchain technology for university institutions is in like capital asset tokenization. So when I say capital asset tokenization, what I really mean is taking a physical real world asset. So that can either be like a 300,000 square foot hospital or even just like a $250,000 bond offering, being able to digitize, tokenize, and then offer fractional shares of ownership to accredited investors around the world. And I really see this like impacting universities in two different ways. So the first way is the classic crowdfunding example. Well, looking to entice alumni or even like in-state residents to invest in fractional ownership directly into these university-led initiatives. And that leads into my second point in that it also improves a university's ability to borrow from accredited financial institutions or like investment banks to support the exact same initiatives. So I believe, I think it was 6 to 9 months ago, the credit reporting agency and financial services firm Moody's recently stated that that they're going to be releasing a set of blockchain securitization standards in 2021. And then in the exact same report, they said that if any organization looks to implement some blockchain-based architecture system, that they see that credit positive in their eyes, and they're more than willing to like raise their credit score, which overall improves an organization's ability to get lending. So again, I think that this use case directly impacts universities in both those ways. But I think, as Alec mentioned earlier, universities are relatively risk adverse. So I think one of the biggest challenges for actually going forward with this use case is just the overall complexity of the industry, as well as universities aren't necessarily willing to explore a new application to do another financial offering or something that they already do.
I can kind of expand on that a little bit. So there's another use case that me and Jack have worked on before, and kind of branching off of the counteracting degree fraud as well. It's really about document management, and especially in terms of when international students are actually applying to college, there's a lot of bureaucracy and a lot of difficulties that they go through in sending their transcripts, sending their documents, filing all their forms, getting those submitted on time. It takes months sometimes to hear back from colleges after processing all the documents, and that can be really difficult for an international student, including all the other difficult things they already have to go through with going to a completely new place and new university. So, this is a solution we've worked through before. Sadly, it didn't go, all the way into production scale, but I think it's still, a very big possibility out there, and especially with degrees, that's a document that you have to keep and certify forever. And having the ability to really own that asset digitally, I think it really does help out when you're trying to take away those possibilities of fake diplomas or other fake documents that might come into a university or come out of one. Even with that, going into the job process, there's all these things that you have to certify. So really that document management, I think, is also key within universities and outside of them.
Yeah, we're working on something similar at Marquette University. So the key challenge we're trying to counteract with the solution at Marquette is this idea of degrees often more often than you would think, actually get revoked. So this is issues with payments. Sometimes you realize that you don't actually have all the credits required, or you don't renew certain certifications, things like that. So what we're working on at Marquette is making a publicly verifiable revocation contract. So what that means is we'll actually distribute the degree via a blockchain. So you have the digital asset, and then you can actually put QR codes on the physical labeling of the degree as well to cross-reference with that revocation contract. So as an employer, you can actually go in at any time, scan the QR code. It will cross-reference the revocation contract in the background, which is a list of encrypted names that their degree has been revoked. So then instantaneously, without having to contact the institution, being Marquette, you're able to verify the authenticity of the degree, one, the accuracy of the transcript, and then two, and then three, you can prove that the degree had not been revoked. So you can actually trust the authenticity and integrity of this data without having to call Marquette or pay the $20 fee, which we currently charge.
Someone anonymously asked, universities issue bonds to raise money to build, for example, buildings. Why would they need to release tokens? I know Andrew can definitely elaborate more on this, but I kind of see it as, so to kind of like paint the picture maybe a little bit better, capital asset tokenization, I feel could potentially serve almost like crowdfunding, right? Where the people of the community, like Andrew said, they could tap into the alumni network or whatever. They could basically get together to create a new building on campus. And since it's all digital, since it's all tokenized, all the long, lengthy process of doing all of this through raising a bond and having to kind of, it's all pushed onto a blockchain. It's all quicker. It's all so much more accessible. It's all public as well. And I think it allows for a much larger community to actually tap into raising money for, example, like buildings, hospitals, whatever they may be.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that as well. I also think that also as a further way to kind of incentivize local residents or in-state residents to invest in the universities and institutions in state, universities can also link, let's say like non-monetary incentives or different things around campus to be incorporated with ownership of that coin. So looking at like Michigan State University basketball, possibly linking like 1 or 2 free tickets into that as well, or something very similar to linking non-monetary assets to that token in the actual ownership of it as well.
Honestly, that's something I want to expand on as well, because something at the Blockchain Club that I know Jack is obviously helping to build is the idea of a token that can incentivize interaction within the community. Specifically within Miami University, we already have kind of a specific payment network that we use for our meal swipes, for our different food places on campus, some other clothing shops as well, that really a student lives on from the time they get there to the end of most of their sophomore year. And this is something that could be revolutionized in the terms of, we could make this all into some type of tokens, a cryptocurrency token, and consider integrating blockchain-based systems there, because there's really, I think, a lot of potential for more access and easier ways of not only transferring funds back home, but also just being able to spend easier, quicker through mobile payments. I think that's just going to be potentially the next wave as well on university campus, and we're hoping to be a part of that as well on our campus.
Hope that answered the question.
Yeah. So I guess we can go on. So everyone here is creating a consortium of Midwest universities focused on blockchain. Can you give us all some insights into how this idea came about and a brief description of what the Midwest Blockchain Consortium is?
So I can kind of start with that. So, we're really excited to be creating this Midwest Blockchain Consortium. And basically how it came about was, how did all of us get here today? How did we all meet? It's pretty crazy, but mostly it happened through LinkedIn, I would say. I know Zane reached out to me one day and said he's thinking of basically creating a Midwest Blockchain Conference and expanding outside of just Indiana and then also Michigan expanding outside of Michigan, trying to create a bigger conference, hopefully at scale with universities across the Midwest. And that's kind of where the idea was born, was at least starting to collaborate there. But from there, it really opened up our ideas and our minds into something that could be more than just a conference or more than just a pitch competition. What it turned into was, all of us at our universities, all of us at our clubs, each have our own members. These are members from all different roles, all different majors, all different backgrounds, like we mentioned before, and they all have their own individual pieces that they're really good at, that they're experts in, or that they really want to work in when they get out of school. And what we can do is start to leverage each of our resources together, pool our assets, pool our talented members together, and then also bring them to corporates, bring them to this need of talent that obviously there is a lack of. So, today we see a lot of, especially in the information technology space, we see a lot of, unable to get a lot of really good talent. And I think through our universities, through our clubs, we've seen that we have access to this. We can provide this. It's just, how do we get connected? Each of us, we have our own connections. We have our own companies that we're kind of interacting with. But if we create one consortium together, then we can kind of bridge this talent gap, but then also to help students at universities to really understand how to develop better, connect with other students from other universities, to start to get these consulting opportunities, and even to get jobs and internships. That's been the goal at our university club. I think it's the goal of all these other university clubs as well, is, the end goal of how do we get them to actually understand this technology? How do we get them to develop with the technology? And then how do we get them to innovate and connect with the atmosphere outside of their university with it? So with this consortium, that's what we hope to do. And, I think there's a lot of future in that, and we want to go through that soon enough, but we're really excited to do this together.
Yeah, I can go a little bit off that. I think for us, it was just like a lack of resources that kind of forced us to look outside of our own doors. We tried to put up a hackathon and decided we didn't have enough members, we didn't have enough attendees, and we didn't have enough money. So it was like a combination of just not much around the table. And so once we got together with other universities, it was all about a strength in numbers. And I think that's true for the blockchain space in general. Once you start to build out a community and a network, things just start to get stronger. And so opportunities are going to start to open up. We have a very big business school, and not a lot of computer science students. And so we had a lack of development talent. And so connecting with Miami University, connecting with the University of Michigan has opened up doors for us, because a lot of the projects that we could have taken on, we couldn't have because we didn't have the talent for it. Now we can kind of bring that into our pipeline and expand it to other people in the network. So I think it's a huge help that we're excited to take it forward.
Yeah, and I just want to add that this conference itself was in part powered by the Midwest Blockchain Consortium. So, currently it's already kicking off and doing a lot of really cool things. I'm really excited to see what else the Midwest Blockchain Consortium accomplishes in the future. Does anyone want to talk about what that vision looks like?
Yeah, I can talk about that too. So I think in the near term, we're looking to, again, develop an educational platform or educational courses teaching blockchain technology, and kind of consolidating all the information that we use on a day-to-day basis, as well as look to co-host events around the Midwest focused on blockchain emerging technologies. Really looking at the medium to long term, we want to develop more or less like a nonprofit advisory arm, very similar to Marquette Blockchain Lab or even Spartan Blockchain Solutions, where university groups can begin to collaborate on blockchain-based projects and hopefully develop industry partnerships with a lot of different firms, which also leads to a pipeline of students working at these firms, either in internship positions or full-time as well.
Yeah, we also hope to serve as kind of a resource to students who are interested in the space and don't know where to start or don't know where to look. Hopefully through our corporate partnerships and talent pipeline, we can guide students in the right place and connect, employers with students, which is, I know something that's on a lot of students' mind, especially the upperclassmen who want to break into a tough space like blockchain. I know it can be hard. And so hopefully through our pooled resources, we can create a talent network that benefits everyone.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's just such a deep rabbit hole, and there's so much information. And like Andrew mentioned earlier, there isn't like one consolidated repository where you can access all that information. And so with like the years of like time that we've been putting in, we hope to kind of create this repository and create a network where individuals can meet other like-minded individuals just from other schools all across the Midwest, not just their hometown, access to a wide range of industry-wide professionals, while also kind of being able to learn as much as they can aside from whatever they're studying. So
Yeah, one quick comment. So if you are a decision maker at a corporation, as we mentioned, please reach out. We have plenty of extremely talented, young, driven individuals looking for jobs, as well as co-founders. But if you are a student right now and you're kind of thinking, hey, this would be really cool if we had one of these at my university, please look to us as a resource to help you formalize that initiative. We have experience, starting everything as small as just a small cryptocurrency trading club, all the way to, like Michigan State's example, which is the most developed, where they're actually engaging with like very dynamic ecosystems, actually consulting with large corporations. So we are, experienced all the way from super simple clubs all the way to very dynamic delivery of proof of concepts and pilot projects. So don't hesitate to reach out, and we're here to help, and we would love to get you involved.
Awesome. And all that's really cool. But we do need to get to the point where we've got this entire organization built up. Ashton, what do you think is the next direct step to get there?
Yeah, so in going with the theme of the future of blockchain innovation and education, that's what we hope to do here. But what the direct next step is, I would say, from here in the fall and throughout the summer, we're looking to continue to work together to build out our consulting opportunities, how that all is going to really work together, what roles are students going to play, and then really setting the stage and setting the ecosystem for how cross-campus collaboration is going to work together. And I really think that we have a lot of great potential to do this together. And I think by the fall, we'll have a really good framework of how this is all going to go down, and we can really start to actually bring students and corporates into our network. We're looking to engage as soon as possible, so we can start to understand the interests on both sides. So definitely feel free to reach out to us. But in the fall, and sadly it was pushed back because of COVID-19, we were looking to put on our first pitch competition with university students focused around blockchain. That was going to be at the Milwaukee Blockchain Conference that Alec was heading up there. And that's pushed to the fall. We're still looking to have that first pitch competition, done by us with, most likely up to 10 to 20 startups, all university students. And so, that's what kind of that future of innovation that we see looking like within the university space. Is really to get that cross-campus collaboration and then put on these events, even the virtual blockchain conference, where students from all around the nation, all around the Midwest can network with each other, can start to pull from each other's expertise and resources and interests, and then create new innovative solutions that are probably better and different outside the box than most other bigger startups out there that have the access. We hope to create that access within the university space and kind of be that accelerator and that growth network for students in general, professionally, educationally, and everything in between.
Okay, does anyone want to add anything before we hop over to questions?
I think we're good.
Awesome.
Questions in the chat.
Yeah. Let's start with the Zoom chat, I guess. Give me a sec. Okay. here's one at the bottom. To Ashton, if the university is a trusted party, why replacing such an efficient centralized system with a highly inefficient system like blockchain? So to paraphrase, why would we want to sacrifice the efficiency that comes with having a single source of truth, or a single entity that's providing that, with the redundancy that comes with a blockchain?
So is this specifically, you think, on the document side, or more on like the potential tokenized system?
I think you could say either. It's really, from the university's perspective, why would they want to expend more resources to do kind of the same thing, where they're still building this on a computer network? Obviously, they get other guarantees, which I think is what you would start to expand on. But
yeah, definitely. So, I mean, I think specifically within the document network, and as Alec touched on before, in terms of the blockchain that would be created around the degrees, that is something, today we really don't have a great solution for. It's really just all a paper-based system. Obviously you can trust the university for sure, but that doesn't mean that we can't still trust the university with a blockchain system. It's just eliminating a lot of those inefficiencies that are out there, and there definitely are inefficiencies. Obviously, it's not the easiest thing to create a pilot and to create a solution, but through an educational club like ourselves, we can start to test that at a lower scale and understand how the actual inefficiencies can be improved. But what's really necessary there is this idea of digital identity, which we touched on before, I think yesterday, which there's a lot of conversation around, is really having access to that document yourself digitally and being able to certify the fact that you own it. You can verify it, but then also the university, they can still verify it, even though it's in this network. It's private, it's permissioned, and they're still a trusted entity within the network. It's just pulling everyone across the network together in order to have better trust and have better transparency, and eliminate those fakes as well, and slashing the administrative costs as well. I think there's definitely a lot of pieces there, especially in universities, that can be taken care of, and there's a lot of, I think, wasted resources within the university, personally.
Here's a really cool one. Oh, where did it go? Oh, it's in the chat. Any possibility to export the idea of cross-campus collaboration to European universities? From Monica Molina. Anyone want to?
Yeah, Ashton, do you want to talk briefly about Tim's kind of work and how we're collaborating with them?
Yeah. So specifically, we had a blockathon later this past fall, a blockchain hackathon at my university. We had six pitches from university students. We had around 30 students involved, which we were definitely really excited to have. 4 of them actually had proof of concepts that they created in a 3-day span over a weekend. They dedicated a lot of their time and their resources to be a part of it, and we were really excited to have them. And through that, we were actually able to have one of our university members, our club members, to create this solution called Allied Fund, which is basically pulling research and development across different governments in order to create better protocols and to basically pull the resources into the best technologies and the best proof of concepts in order to really start to develop these better blockchain technologies and other technologies as well. And so with that, we actually have had the opportunity for Tim to pitch at multiple pitch competitions, and he's going to be pitching at the Milwaukee Blockchain Pitch Competition. And with that, we're actually able to provide him with our developers, with developers from Blockchain in Michigan, and to kind of create this opportunity so that if we have access to these students, if we know that this student is really good at this one, understanding where the students are, what their expertise is, then we can understand where certain students are needed in certain potential startups. So we can do that together, and then we're going to start to create this framework, obviously, and we will hope to bring it to universities in Europe. I think that would be a great thing to do. Collaboration, it doesn't just have to happen within the Midwest. I think, once we start to create our framework, we can certainly share it with others. And I think there's already some blockchain consortiums out there that are doing a great job of this. The Global Blockchain Business Council, and there's just so many that are already doing so great within a consortium atmosphere that we want to start to model off of.
Yeah, I want to quickly add, most of us, like most of our clubs, are also partnered with BEN, Blockchain Education Network, and they have a huge access to universities literally all across the world. Just the other day, I remember I joined Eric. He's like the president, head of Blockchain Education Network, and he's always putting in a lot of work, a lot of hours to kind of get us connected, kind of get us the resources, both in the industry, academically, everything. And I remember the other day I attended a Zoom call with the presidents of 5 different brand new blockchain clubs in Turkey. We're talking like in Istanbul, Cappadocia, and like it was extremely cool. They were having a lot, it was like very interactive, and there were students and members as well as the presidents all asking tons of questions, kind of figuring out how the blockchain clubs are being run in America and how they can kind of model off of that. So there's definitely a lot of cross-campus collaboration worldwide that I think is going to be tapped into as the worldwide clubs start to develop further.
Yeah, I was joking around the other day that we need a consortium of consortiums. Anyway, let's see. There's another one. Any possibility that we will begin to see undergraduate blockchain or distributed ledger courses? Anyone want to tackle that?
Yeah, I can hop in on that one. So far, as far as like university accredited courses have come, they're usually taking about 2 different routes. The law school and the MBA programs at my university, at least, they kind of have their own thing going on. But as far as undergrad goes, one great option to go through is through the distributed computing angle. So we do have a couple of distributed computing courses that kind of set the stage for DLT and what it's all about, and teach you a lot of the technical aspects of what configures a blockchain. I think they are developing a blockchain course specific to blockchain and cryptocurrencies. I think it's supposed to go out fall of 2021, but it might have gotten pushed back due to all of this. But universities are slowly coming around to this. At my university, they're trying to come together and put together a center of excellence for blockchain. With a bunch of professors from the business school, from the law school, from the computer science department, even fine arts and design people. So it's really all about cross collaboration. As far as like non-CS goes, I think we're kind of behind the curve. There's no talk of an actual course being put out there. We run a business of blockchain course that's kind of a watered down version of what a university one would look like to give students kind of a simple understanding. But to that end, I don't think there's anything going on at our school. It might be different for you guys.
Yeah, I mean, for us, we're seeing a lot at the graduate level, like how similar to what you were saying. The undergrad level, there's a lot of pushback for some reason, but I think with time, we'll get there.
Yeah, I think honestly, we had a great model for this at Miami University, thanks to our great advisor, Arthur Carvalho. He is a professor in the Information Systems and Analytics Department, and he, along with the first president of our club, put together this idea of creating a course specifically for business students, but also with that technical piece of it, so that you can kind of understand it from the business use case perspective, understand it from the back end technical, at least a little bit, dive into it, on both sides. And that's just really important. And there were even some computer science students, including within the course, just because it was so revolutionary for us to have it. It was actually one of 6 undergraduate universities to have it. in the nation, which was really revolutionary for us to have that. It was actually last spring that we had it. And sadly, now we don't have it anymore because of administration and the fact that we weren't really able to push it on from there. But we had it for 2 semesters. It was a great course. It started from Bitcoin, understanding what that is, what hashes were, Merkle trees, and then it further went into Ethereum, went into Hyperledger, and then all around blockchain use cases, and even had some speakers from like IBM Blockchain, from some startups around Ohio, come and speak. And I think that was a great example. And actually at University of Cincinnati, me and Jack visited this past fall. Michael Jones, who is talking later today with Alec on a panel, he actually brought about a course specifically in the economics department around more and more around the crypto economics and how cryptocurrency and blockchain is being implemented and use cases as well. So that was a really exciting course. He also had professional speakers come out, and I think those are really great examples of really how to do a course at a university. And I think we're going to see more of that, especially within individual departments starting to take on a blockchain course. Like accounting, I think that is something where we might need a blockchain course soon enough to help those accounting majors start to understand how blockchain might really impact that major as well. So just my 2 cents.
Okay, I think we have time for one more. Let's see if I can find one. If all your respective universities are able to do something like this, which is hosting events, conferences, competitions, is there a reason that 11 years into Bitcoin's existence, there's still a ton of animosity towards blockchain and pushback from university administration?
I think there's a reason. I think that I had to Google it when I think you were talking, but if you look like the Gartner hype cycle of like emerging technologies, I think Bitcoin and blockchain has already kind of passed like the peak of inflated expectations. And I think people are just starting to kind of understand fundamentally that blockchain has a lot more applications than just cryptocurrencies and digital currencies. And again, universities are relatively risk adverse and they don't really want to take a significant risk in investing in a new emerging technology when they don't fundamentally understand the scope and what it can do for them. But I think that they're just starting to come to terms. I know there's a lot of conversations at Michigan State's administration at like a very high level of how can blockchain impact our current systems and architecture, and what value can it bring to our university as a whole?
Yeah. I wouldn't call it like animosity. It's more of just kind of being slow on the ball and not really knowing what to teach, right? So they need time to kind of put together a curriculum and put together a way for students to understand it from all angles. So I think it's just, it takes time for universities to put something like this together, and they need to make sure they do it the right way. And blockchain moves so quickly that there's always changing parts. And so I understand it's a little difficult to do something like this, but they'll get on it eventually, I think.
Yeah, and like it's also like community always drives change, and they always kind of push change forward. And as we mentioned earlier, there's interest across all different fields, across all different students, and I think that shows enough right there that there's a huge community behind it. And as a result, I think that the university pushback that we're seeing today will definitely lessen over time, sooner rather than later, hopefully.
Awesome. Okay. Well, that just about wraps it up. So I think we have 5 minutes left. So if anyone wants to say anything really quickly, maybe take 30 seconds. And then I think we'll probably end it there.
No? I can go, I guess. Even though I'll probably end up wrapping up the session along with Jack's stuff as well. So I want to thank everyone for being here today. Obviously, these panelists, they're doing some great work within their universities, and will continue to do great work after they graduate, which some of us are about to, which is pretty sad. But and in the current crisis, we're all kind of displaced a little bit, and it's really crazy to see a lot of education going virtually and all that. And I think this conference specifically was a great model, and I really enjoyed putting it on. I appreciate their help as well with the outreach and with, you know, setting up the Midwest Blockchain Consortium. And there's really only up from here. You know, it's still in its very early stages. I think MBC has a lot of room for growth, and thanks to these guys here and a couple other girls that weren't able to make it, there are some, I promise you. There's a lot of room for growth and a lot of possibilities. So we're really excited to move forward.
Yeah, shout out Ashton for putting in all the work to make this happen.
Yeah, thanks, Ashton.
Yeah, thank you all.
Thanks, guys. Yeah, and hopefully MBC might be able to do a similar model going forward as well. Because I think the Miami University Club might do. It could potentially do a physical Cincinnati conference next year, but obviously Jack will have to figure that out. But there's still a lot of more potential for virtual events, and we look forward to putting them on.
As long as people are wearing masks, we'll be putting on virtual events. So.